So let's start. So this the content looks more than 6 hours. This is part of one of my module I'm teaching at Loughborough University. It is called Digital Finance. So financial technology module. So I prepared this session module lectures for that particular module. So it may look a bit more than what we can do in this session, but I try to compress and teach most of the important part during this 6-hour session. Okay. So today we will go through the first 2 points: introduction to blockchain and application, and then we will talk about the important security techniques that actually used to build blockchain, the important cryptographic parameter. Then next session, probably next week, we will go through the Bitcoin. Probably we all heard about Bitcoin and Bitcoin, and there's one important protocol that been developed by the Bitcoin the founder, called proof of work. So that's a very interesting and novel work. I think I can't wait to teach that one to you all. Then there's another one is called, there are a number of other alternatives to proof of works, so that we will cover them in the next session. Then somebody might have heard about the blockchain or Bitcoin would take more than 10 minutes, right? If you are buying a coffee, or if you're buying something from KFC, you can pay instantly. But if you are going to use blockchain or Bitcoin to make the payment, it may take quite a lot of time to transfer the payment between you and the shop owner. So people have developed a new technology now to make the Bitcoin faster. That is called Lightning Network. So we will quickly go through the fundamentals and what are the radical change in Bitcoin. Then finally, we will go through quite a few other applications beyond cryptocurrencies. Like there are hundreds of applications that is being used using blockchain, right? So, and also we will see how we can get started with Bitcoin, if you are interested to buy a Bitcoin, and how we can do that. Okay, and let me turn off my video so that the quality would be much better. Okay, right. Introduction to blockchain and application. So let's start with this typical example, the weddings, right? Commonly in Sri Lanka, we have weddings like we have this both of them, right? We go to register office to do registration of our weddings, as well as we have a celebration, right? But before, like few years back, let's say we have either we will do only this one or this one. Okay, so the difference between the first one, let's say this is first, and let's say this is second. The first one is actually quite centralized, right? And we go to registration office, and we will register our marriage, and the registrar will register as a witness, and she will give you a certificates, right? And this is kind of you can marry in this way as well without going to registration office. This is like there are quite a lot of people are seeing you, right? But I don't know, which one do you think is more secure, the first one or second one? So you may know the answer. Like first one looks like more secure, but first one is quite centralized, right? Our weddings are registered on this registration books. It's quite centralized, right? So it's centralized registry, and if somebody go and steal this registration book, or if somebody go and manipulate this registration book, then it's pretty much your wedding will be disappeared, right? So it's quite easy to hack, right? So it is a problem with the centralized nature of doing business, right? If you have if you trust this registration book, and if you trust this one person, then we are in a trouble, because your wedding can be, changed, right? But on the other hand, if you get married in such a way that you are surrounded by your relatives, families, and all the village or city, all your colleagues and stuff, everybody knows that you got married, right? So it's a decentralized. There's no way somebody can able to manipulate that, unless you run away from Sri Lanka and come to UK and live in an island somewhere where nobody knows about you. But at some point, you will be people will know that you already married, right? So that is the beauty of going from centralized scenario to decentralized scenario. If it is decentralized, there's no single point of failure and very difficult to hack. So that's the beauty of blockchain. Blockchain offers decentralized setup, right? So what blockchain allows? It allows two unknown people can do business without a middleman. Okay. Initially, money was transacted, right? For example, in 2008, after 2008, when the Bitcoin became famous, people were using this blockchain network to transfer money or buy something using digital currencies. But what's the difference between our current banking system? Because currently we have a central authority, which is our bank or our government, right? So even though we have, some of you have millions of Sri Lankan rupees in your bank account, but it can be nothing tomorrow, because even though you have 1 million Sri Lankan rupees, the value of the money is decided by the central authority or by the government, right? If the government started to print more and more and more money, the value today, you may able to buy a house with your 1 million Sri Lankan rupees, but tomorrow you couldn't even able to buy a bread with that $1 million, right? So that is the biggest problem with having a central or trusted party in your system, right? But when it comes to Bitcoin or blockchain, we don't have a central party. So two unknown people can transact, right? You and me can transact. You can send money to me, I can send money to you, without having to go through any of the central party, right? So this was initially the Bitcoin or the blockchain was used to transact money. Currently, there are people have found that blockchain has really good security properties. Because of the decentralized nature, people can able to do all sort of business. People can sell house. You can actually sell house without having anybody involved, right? You can sign an agreement, right? If you are going to rent a house or something, you can sign an agreement without going through lawyers or agents or anybody, right? So actually, currently the blockchain being used to sell and buy diamonds, see the quality of fish, the fish that we eat. You can use the blockchain to see how good is the fish is, where it was actually caught, whether fish was treated well during the transportation, etc., right? So basically, this blockchain disrupted almost every industry that relies on centralized model, right? Banking sector is really shocked by blockchain, Bitcoin, because they will be soon out of business if they don't change the way they do business, right? Manufacturing, right? Supply chain, etc. Okay. So And how is it done on blockchain? So blockchain basically, as I mentioned, it's a number of blocks. They are chained to each other in a secure way, right? So let's say if you are going to make a transaction on blockchain, let's say you have a Bitcoin and you are going to buy a coffee, right? So that's a transaction. That transaction will be written on this new block. And once you have got the coffee and the seller have received the Bitcoin, then this new block will be attached to the previous chain. In that way, this is secure, right? And as you know, we will read more about this. Each block contains verified signed transaction. This is very important. This is where the cryptography, the security properties comes into picture. Right. So the blockchain properties, I think you have got the idea. It's quite decentralized, right? No trusted party involved, no middleman, no single point of failure, right? And is importantly, it is secure. So the centralized system, as I mentioned before, banks, right? The currencies, US dollar, pounds, Sri Lankan rupee, anything. Supply chain is centralized, right? Supply chain, for example, let's say you are buying things from eBay or Amazon, and you have no idea. The seller will say he has posted your item on particular day, and in fact he hasn't posted your item, right? And there's no way you can able to prove that seller didn't post your item, right? So supply chain has a centralized so that they can able to manipulate. And networks, right? Most of our computer network that we use is quite centralized. For example, your domain name, you have to relay your domain names, for example, www.universityofjaffna.com. It is controlled by a central authority, right? And also the bidding networks, right? Okay, so some people do bid on eBay to buy things, right? And the bidding rule says that the person who has highest bid will win, right? So second highest bid will win. And you have no idea what is the second highest bid. There are hundreds of people will bid for this for a particular item, and you don't know, because eBay or somebody can change the second highest bid. Okay, it probably 8 rupees, but eBay will change into 80 rupees because we have no idea, right? So these are the central, and there are social networks, for example, Facebook, all the social networks, media, right? All are centralized. You may heard about from Donald Trump. He was preaching that fake news, etc., etc. So because these are fake news, because these are centralized. So people are working day and night to transform everything from centralized to decentralized. Okay. All right. Next slide. In all centralized system, we need to trust a centralized third party, right? Central party maintains a large database. Okay, so large database mean like banks. They maintain a large database. Large database contains all the people details, their account, and how much money they have, right? So the database can be hacked, or the central party can be bribed or malfunction, right? If the database can be hacked, all of a sudden you will see 1 million Sri Lankan rupees in your account. It never happened to me, but if somebody hacked and changed your balance from 10,000 to 100 million, why not, right? So it could happen, okay? So that's a problem with the centralized system, right? Centralized to decentralized trend. So currency, digital currency, right? It's going from the printed banknotes to fully digital currency, right? Airbnb type of contracts, right? Nowadays, or Uber, if you know Uber or any these are the middlemen, right? Airbnb, right? Airbnb is a company. They have no single room actually, but they are the one of the largest renting platform, right? And Uber is the one of the taxi company with zero taxis, and they have the largest taxis in the world. And these people can, you know, change the rules, and they can able to change things. They can manipulate things because these are centralized, right? The music industry. So there are music industry, like if you are an artist, you can either put your musics on YouTube or Apple Store, where and all of them are centralized, right? So centralized has even though it looks pretty good, but if it's quite it can be changed, because the internet, the age of internet is probably around 20 30 years, I suppose, right? And the internet companies like Google, Facebook, they all know about you, right? Because they are centralized party. And even we have seen in news that these companies have changed the elections in many countries. They manipulate the fake news and stuff. So even 30 years, they could able to control many things, right, within few years. But so can you imagine what would happen uh, in another 30 years, right? If we keep only the centralized people in our society, and it will be a biggest problem. It will change our life, right? We will become people like the characters in a game, right? These people will play around us. So that's the biggest problem with the existing centralized setup. So we need to go from centralized, and it is already happening, right? Okay, I will skip this slide. And also, the decentralized system is fast, right? I remember, when I was studying let me share my video time to time so that you can, otherwise you will be bored. When I was studying in Sri Lanka, I wanted to get my O-level certificates, and from I had to go to Battaramulla. But it took getting a certificate would take like 3 days actually, because there is a mistake on my name. So they, when they translated from my name from Tamil to English, there was a mistake between my birth certificate and name, and it took nearly 3 days to get a certificate. So, but if it is a decentralized, if you automate everything without no middleman, things will be fast, okay, and also more resilient. So Libertarian decided to build a totally decentralized system with no authority. Right. Do you have any questions? I don't know where can I get chat. Okay. Okay, so right.
So students, if you have any questions, please unmute your microphone and you can ask a question. Otherwise, you can also post your questions on a chat.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it would be good if you can interrupt me, because since I am sharing the screen, I can't able to find the chat box. So please unmute and ask question, okay? Right. So otherwise, I will carry on. So if you look at the history, pointers, the history of disruptive technologies, in 1950s we have the mainframes. That's where the the computing capabilities got started. And then in 1980s we have the personal computers. Is just 40 years ago, right? In 1990s, 30 years ago, we had internets, and the companies, they were pioneering internets, Netscape, and later Google, right? Recently, like in last 10-20 years, mobile and social networking, like Apple and Facebook, right? So you can look at this one. These two are pretty much hardware, and these are pretty much software, okay, and as well as hardware. And 2000, I think 2008 or 2010, the blockchain is become one of the disruptive technologies, right? It is in the, it's you can compare this blockchain disruption of blockchain with the Apple and Facebook or Netscape and etc. So it's became one of the disruptive technologies, right? Right. So if you look at if you want to know why it is a disruptive technology, you can do it. If you go to Google Trend, if you type on Google Trend, and you can search any key terms. Okay. For example, today, if you search COVID coronavirus, that would be probably you will get a millions and millions of hits on Google coronavirus. Similarly, the blockchain was pretty hot like a couple of years back, and it's still reasonably a very hot topic compared to many other things, right? So the Google trend was in 2008 showing like, blockchain is one of the hot topic, and people were searching for blockchain, right? And the countries that are searching blockchains, the most hits come from, I think it's in West Indies, not sure, Ghana, African countries, South Asian countries, right? This is where the blockchain is very popular, and this trend will change. You can able to, why don't you go and check, time to time use Google Trend, where you can able to find the hot topics, right? And as a researcher, as a person who is working on technology, I think it's very recently, I didn't know about this Gartner's hype cycle, and one of my professors introduced me. I think we should check this Gartner's hype cycle every year. But Gartner's is the world leading research and advisory company. I think they are based in many countries. What they do is they analyze, every year there are hundreds of new technologies emerge, right? So hundreds of new technologies, and only few of them become very popular and will change the world, right? Blockchain is one of them. Gartner's, what they do is they actually analyze the emerging technologies, and then they will predict the future of those technologies, right? So every year they publish a hype cycle, right? So hype cycle is something like this. Let's say the visibility in the y-axis and time in the x-axis. Initially, the technology will, emerge. That's where the people will start to talk about the technology, right? And if the technology, they will predict whether the technology will be, where is it in the visibility. If the technology is a very powerful and successful technology, what happens, that technology will climb on this the hype cycle, and it will reach a peak. Okay, then it will reach a peak. Then some technologies goes down, because once people, this is where the technology will people will start to build application around the technology. And for example, let me go to next slide. So this is where, if the technology, when the technology is emerging, the based on the Gartner's the prediction, the investment, people will start to invest. There are people with billions of dollars. They wanted to invest in a successful technology, right? So the investment will happen during this period, right? And once the technology passed the peak, right, only few technologies will actually climb on this one and pass the peak. The big companies will buy those technologies, right? This is where the investment will be given to small companies, small medium enterprises or startups. They will build they will mature the technology, and at some point big companies will buy. Then it will become the technology go through a mass production. right? So let me share a couple of Gartner's hype cycles. In 2016, okay, 2016, blockchain started to appear. 2015, the blockchain not mentioned anywhere. And 2016, blockchains, that's a year that everybody started to talk about blockchain. There are millions of researchers across the globe started to do research on blockchain, and blockchain became one of the hot topic, right? And in 2017, the blockchain started to go to this is called accusation, right? The big companies started like IBM, Deloitte, all the big private companies started to invest money in the blockchain to build their own framework. Okay, and so it is a 2017, and 2018 the blockchain is appearing here. This is the recent 2019 Gartner's emerging technologies. You can see the blockchain, a number of applications like just decentralized web, right? Decentralized web is something that people are investing. They want to build a website where nobody will control anything, where you can, the domain name server will be decentralized, the web hosting will be decentralized. Decentralized web is something like, social Facebook without Mark Zuckerberg. Like everybody will be part of the Facebook, okay? And decentralized autonomous organizations, right? Most of the organization now we have is centralized. We have a bureaucrats, a central managing body, right? So decent, but this is quite interesting, right? Even though we are focusing on blockchain, you should note some of the other interesting technologies such as edge artificial intelligence and artificial intelligence also becoming one of the hot topics, right, along with the decentralized blockchain. So please time to time check this Gartner's hype cycle, and so that you can able to find the what is hot and what will be the future, so you don't waste time on working on something else, right? So I think if you're interested in web development or something like that, I think you should focus on how to build a decentralized web instead of a typical website, right? So there are some design principle. I think I will skip these slides for the sake of time. The design principle of blockchain is trust. That's the first thing. Second one is privacy, right? Privacy, we will dive deep into these privacy issues, but if you take a Bitcoin blockchain, so I'm kind of biased in the beginning of this session because I'm talking about Bitcoin. I should have mentioned that Bitcoin is one of the applications of blockchain, okay? And Bitcoin is one of the successful application of blockchain, okay? So it's good to understand the Bitcoin so that it will be much easier for us to understand. And for example, if it is a Bitcoin blockchain, everybody, you don't need to give your name, email address, your home address or anything when you want to sign up for something, right? All you have is, this is your ID, right? Nobody knows whose ID is this one, right? So it is probably the ID of one person, and this is the ID. This is what people know, right? So it will give you a privacy, right? So this guy gave like millions of dollars, and probably he will be sitting next to you, but you never know who is that person. So it will give you a privacy, right? That's another aspect of blockchain. And security is double spending, right? It will stop double spending, right? Because let me give you some interesting things to. For example, if it is a printed currency, like 10 rupees, 20 rupees, 1,000 rupees, you can have only one, right? There's no way somebody can able to print another dollar successfully, right? So when this comes to a fiat currency, or the the cash like dollars or pounds or rupees, it's very difficult to spend the same money in two places, right? You can't give the 1,000 rupees to KFC in Japan, and you can't give the same 1,000 rupees. So you can't double spend. But when it comes to digital currency, it's digital, right? So I can copy and paste. Digital means just a binary, right? Every currency, Bitcoin has a serial number, and you can able to produce that one easily, right? But the problem is, before Bitcoin, there are a number of digital currencies, right? The problem is that those digital currencies are prone to double spending. Okay, the people would be, because those currencies rely on central party, so that there's a way people can able to spend the same currency in 2 places, 3 places. So that was the biggest problem. But Bitcoin actually solved this double spending by using blockchain. So that is the most important aspect of Bitcoin. And rights, right? So you will see in other blockchain applications such as Ethereum something like that. So you can able to have a contract. If you want to, you can able to rent your apartment in a using a blockchain, right? So basically what I'm trying to say is, you can have rights. Let's say you can put some if else condition digitally. Okay, if the person, then it is all digitally managed. It's called contract, right? So your rights will be preserved. For example, if you are an artist, if you are releasing a new music, or some documents or something, some patent application, you can have a contract. You can say this music belongs to me, as long as nobody buy these musics, right? So you can able to prove your rights for ownership using blockchain. Otherwise, it is not possible without a decentralized environment. Inclusion means finance for everybody. We are enjoying internet, but quite a lot of people still they don't have internet, right? Similarly, when it comes to finance, quite a lot of people in the world, they don't have access to finance, right? And if somebody want to send the money from one country to another country, still it's very difficult, right? We have to go through a number of regulations, etc., right? So but the blockchain technology is a decentralized, is borderless, right? So there's no borders. Nobody can able to stop it. So it will include everybody, all the vulnerable and other people, right? Right. So Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is the, as I mentioned before, it's one of the successful application about using blockchain, right? This is the first successful application, and the Bitcoin is using blockchain as the core element, right? And blockchain basically invented by the inventors of Bitcoin. That guy name is Satoshi Nakamoto. I will come, right? So let me give you a quick background about Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the first successful virtual currency and has survived more than 10 years, maybe 12 years now, right? And nobody able to hack the Bitcoin, right? Nobody able to hack. When you think about a digital world, and if something is surviving for more than 10 years, it must be a secure and really good innovation, right? And Bitcoin has actually survived and become legal in many countries. Okay, so that's another important thing, right? What is Bitcoin? Is a protocol. The protocol support decentralized, pseudo-anonymous, and peer-to-peer digital currency. Okay, and it also, the important another aspect of this, it's publicly disclosed ledger, right? Because since there's no central authority, right? So everybody can able to see which person. I mean, actually, you can't identify the person, but you can able to say this ID transacted with another ID, this amount of money. Anybody can able to see it, because currently, if you go and deposit money in your account, who can see that one? Only your bank knows how much money you have, right? and it's a problematic anyway. And they also know what are you doing actually, what is your daily day-to-day activity, right? Nobody else can able to find out. But since we are removing that central authority, anybody can able to see this ledger, right? It's publicly available. Okay. However, you can't able to identify a person. You can't able to identify a single person, right? Because those are just IDs, right? So it's provide a publicly disclosed linked ledger that is called blockchain. And another innovation is the proof of work I mentioned before, right? The reward-driven system. Okay. Okay, let me skip this. Okay, so now I think, let me ask you a question, right? So when it comes to normal currency, Sri Lankan rupees or anything, the government and the bank print new currencies, right? So what about Bitcoin? There is no central authority, right? So how we can able to, so mint is something similar to printing new currencies, okay? Think about, how it is possible. We will find the answers in the upcoming session, but it's good, maybe a food for thought. In a decentralized environment, where everybody is equal and everybody can see everything, even though there are some private, there's a privacy. How we can able to print or digitally print new currency, because it's very important that we need to print currencies, right? If we don't have currencies, then nobody will work, right? It's expected that we will have 21 million Bitcoins, right? In total, we will have 21 million Bitcoins by 2140. Okay. Currently, we have 18 millions Bitcoins. Okay. Currently, we have 18 million Bitcoins. But by 2100, probably in another 100 years, we will have 21 million Bitcoin. So who are these? Who is printing this? Digitally printing. So think about that. Okay, we will find the answers. So the Bitcoin security is, you can't go and print a new Bitcoin, right? You can't. Okay, you can do it, but you can't illegally do it, right? So it has a security mechanism to control over minting, right? Then it will also, as I mentioned before, it will stop double spending. Even though it's digital, you can't give the same currency to 2 places or 1,000 places. You can give it to only 1 place. And also, it is not possible for counterfeiting. You can't able to print a currency which is similar to the currency somebody else has. So these are the beautiful properties of Bitcoin. And Bitcoin users have pseudo-anonymous. As I mentioned before, when you join a Bitcoin, you will be given an ID, right? That's it. You have only ID. Maybe it's like, I think it's 256 bit long ID. That's it. No Ragula Madhavan, no Ramanan, just the random ID. Okay. So this is a guy. This is I believe some of you might have heard about this. This is a guy. This ID name is also a pseudo ID. Actually, he wrote this paper in 2008 and he published this paper. And he also build the whole Bitcoin software and put it on public. Okay. Public, and it's called P2P, electronic cash system. And this guy was helping. Nobody knows who is this guy, but because in 2008, you will see in the next slide, nobody cared about this Bitcoin. So this guy was, but still helping other people, right? Okay, because people were asking some questions. So he was helping people for 3 months time. then he disappeared afterwards. Okay, so he disappeared afterwards because I think he probably have scared of, he probably have made a lot of money out of this Bitcoin, or probably he's fear of governments, because many countries in like 2008 in 2010 period, many governments were opposing such a Bitcoin like decentralized currency system. Okay, so you will find some information about this one. And in 2009, so the first Bitcoin was transacted on 2000 January 2009. Okay, you can go and check this project. If you go to bitcoin.org, you can able to see this, right? So some features of Bitcoin, because you know, one Bitcoin, you can split the one Bitcoin into 1 million, like similar to pence. You can split into 10 to the power minus, or you can split into 10 to the power 8 small parts. Okay, so the smallest part, right, is called like similar to pennies, is called Satoshi in Bitcoin. Okay, Satoshi in Bitcoin. So 1 million Satoshis, 1 million Satoshi is equal to 1 Bitcoin. Okay, can you somebody tell me the what is the, if you want to buy 1 Bitcoin, or if you own 1 Bitcoin, how much is it equal in dollars or in Sri Lankan rupees? Anybody has an idea? Like if you have, let's say you own a 1 Bitcoin, it is equal to how much rupees? How much Sri Lankan rupees? If you are, you can do a Google search. Once you find, just give me a shout. Okay. Okay, I think the answer is already here. So 1 Bitcoin currently, the value of 1 Bitcoin is equal to $7,500. Okay, so 1 Bitcoin is actually, this is as of 2000, as of last week, right? And previously, because of this coronavirus situation, this value actually gone down significantly. I think I believe it was reaching around 12,000 US dollars few months back. Okay, so if you own 1 Bitcoin, you are a rich person. Okay, if you can have a 1 Bitcoin, you are a rich person, right? As I mentioned before, currently we have 18 million Bitcoins. Okay, but the maximum Bitcoin we can have, right, is only 21 million. So that's the beauty of this Bitcoin, right? Like gold, like metal, this Bitcoin is limited. That's it, 21 million Bitcoin. You are not going to have one more or one less than this, right? And 21, because this is very limited, that's why the people like this Bitcoin, because the value of Bitcoin cannot be deflated by printing more and more Bitcoin. It is not possible, right? And you can't have more than 20. And this 21 million Bitcoin also will become available in 100 years. So most of us, we will never see the, I think all of us will never see this, the Bitcoin reaching this maximum capacity. But at the moment, we have only 18 million. So let me tell you a story, right? So Bitcoin currently the price is $7,500. But in 2010, after 2 years, there's a guy in, I think, Florida in USA. He's a software engineer. He bought pizza. He spent 10,000. He paid 10,000 Bitcoins to a pizza restaurant to buy 2 pizzas, right? And so what do you think about this transaction? In 2000, if he had that 10,000 Bitcoin now, he must be one of the richest person on this planet, right? Because in 2010, the Bitcoin value, like 1 BTC, I think is pretty much even less than $1. Okay, let me go to that the screen. Okay, in 2010, this is where the price is pretty low. I think I'm like in the wrong one, but I think you get my point. In 2010, the Bitcoin is not very popular, and people bought. This guy spent $10,000 to buy 2 pizzas. Probably he is maybe these 2 pizzas are the most expensive pizzas ever made on the planet. Okay, so since we are coming to end of first hour, I think it's time for break. Let me quickly wrap up the first 1 hour session. Like most of the companies now buy. You can make a transaction with Bitcoin. Amazon, right? Google, they all accept Bitcoin now. So Bitcoin become it's a must-have currency in most of the companies, right? PayPal, you can buy laptop with Bitcoins. You can. Shopify is the e-commerce platform, right? You can buy Bitcoin. And I want to ask you, what is this? We will finish the first hour with this question. Can you somebody tell me? Have you seen any Bitcoin payment terminal in Sri Lanka or even in Jaffna? So let's wrap up the first hour with this question. What is the current situation in Sri Lanka with this Bitcoin? Can you able to transact? I know there are some firms, they are mining Bitcoin, right? What about, can you able to buy or sell Bitcoins in Sri Lanka? I want somebody to speak. Otherwise, it will be quite boring. Otherwise, I will assume you guys know everything, or we are wasting time. Any idea? Speaker? Hello? Okay. It seems like most of you are a bit shy. Okay. But I believe you, sorry?
No, actually that is the case. They will start talking after 2 hours time.
Okay. So I think it's very important that you should ask question, right? Okay. You have to be proactive. Okay, so I was in the same shoes actually. Maybe 15 years ago, I wouldn't even sit in front of the classroom. I always sit in the middle, so I can hide from lectures. And okay, so let's. I think I spoke about these slides already. Okay, so let's have a quick 5 minutes break, and we will come back. Is that okay? Give me 5 minutes, okay? And to stretch my legs, and please do so. And I will restart this one in. Let's leave it like this. I will come back in few minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Yes.
thanks, Fauzi Ghaffar. He mentioned that. Okay, so a couple of students responded like Fauzi Ghaffar. He said the 1 Bitcoin in Sri Lankan rupees, I think, is 1.5 million Sri Lankan rupees.
Okay.
It's a and another Veda Darsana Thangaraja, he asked me a question. It is like online shopping without centralized third party and with BTC. Am I right? Absolutely, you are right. If we are currently, the way we can do online shopping is we either use credit card, right, or PayPal, right? So the transaction always goes through the companies. If it's a bank of loan, credit card, means the bank of loan should approve your transaction, etc., etc. And it is right. So it's same as like that one, and it's you are right. It is as or it's Bitcoin is one of the applications of blockchain. Okay, if you are going to do online shopping, you can use Bitcoin. Okay, let's say if you are going to buy diamond for your girlfriend or boyfriend, then you can even buy diamonds through blockchain, right, without going through any going to Colombo one, is it? That's where all the gold shops are there, right? So you can, so, and if you want to buy anything, like, you can use, if you are going to rent your apartment, you can rent your apartment without going through Airbnb. Okay, and even blockchain are used in social networks, right? Currently we are using Facebook. The Facebook is controlled by Mark Zuckerberg and his colleagues, right? So that they have the rights and they can able to manipulate your feed. If you open your Facebook account, you can't decide what you want to see, right? They will put whatever they want you to see, right? So that's the problem. So Facebook, you can have a blockchain Facebook as well, a blockchain social network. Okay, and in Sri Lanka, I'm sure it is you can able to make transaction using Bitcoin, and you can own. I saw a couple of people, companies, they are working on the blockchain protocols. Okay, so let's okay, one more question. Can you see this writing? I forgot to ask you. I think you can able to see the annotation, right? Okay, I hope you can see that. Right. Okay, thank you for those questions. So let's go back. And right, so if you want to involve in Bitcoin, you will if you want to buy or sell, or if you want to become part of this Bitcoin, there are lots of applications available. Like if you are using an Android phone, or if you are using a Apple or any smartphone, you can able to, I am using this one, this My Selenium application. So I suggest you to download this and have a feel about this application, right? So the Bitcoin, as a end user, you can able to buy, sell, do transaction using Bitcoin using this application. Okay, right. So that's the first important thing. It's called Bitcoin wallets, right? So Bitcoin wallets is enable people to become part of the blockchain Bitcoin network. There are hundreds of applications you can find, right? And so when you install one of these applications, right, and let's say that's the first time you are using, this application will generate unique ID and secret key. That's it. You don't need to go to bank. You don't need to fill any application forms. You don't need to bring your national identity cards. You don't need your passport. You don't need your photo, anything, right? That's the beauty of this decentralized application. You are the owner, right? But at the same time, for the bad people, they can't able to manipulate as well, right? Because it's a software program and it will treat everybody in the same way, right? It will not treat one person differently from another person. It's a protocol. Okay, next slide. Right, so in the banks, this is what happens. You know, banks actually maintain a logbook. Let's say Bob, he want to send $1 to allies, right? So what banks is normally doing is, you know, they will subtract $1 from your account and add $1 from the allies account, right? So as I mentioned before, these accounts are centrally managed and it can be hacked, right? So what happened? Somebody put actually, you know, allies account. When somebody transferred in one account, they, you know, somebody hacked that into 10,000 or 1 million, right? It never happened to me, and I hope somebody, if you're lucky, it may happen. But you know, all of a sudden you have become millionaire. That's a problem with this one. But so double spending, why we can't do this in blockchain is that, you know, this is decentralized. Everybody who are part of the blockchain network, they will have the copy of the ledger. Okay, so if you become part of the blockchain, you can able to see all the transactions. Currently, we have probably around 500 million people, right? Maybe 300, 400 million people are using this some form of Bitcoin blockchains. Okay, and all of them have the same copy. Okay, all they can able to see the transaction started in 2008 until now, right? So if it is a bank, you have only one copy and somebody can easily change it. But now look, we have millions of copies spread across the internet, and if you want to fool this this Bitcoin blockchain, you need to go and change 51%, more than half of the copies. You need to manipulate more than half of the copies. And this is a very vague way to understand the Bitcoin, but there are more technical details which is coming. Now you can believe this one, that why Bitcoin is secure, because the Bitcoin, the transaction is recorded in like millions of, in million places. And if somebody want to manipulate everything, they need to go and change more than half of the records, right? So it is not possible. That's why it is secure. Right, so let's dive deep into a bit more technical details. Bitcoin, who are the participants of Bitcoin blockchain? Buyers, right? The participant, they call it nodes, okay? There are three types of nodes: the buyers and sellers, right? And the important people are called miners, right? These people are important people. These people are the makes this Bitcoin blockchain secure. At the same time, these people are making a lot of money. Okay, these are the people actually print the Bitcoins, right? Every 10 minutes, somebody in this world printing 12.5 Bitcoins for themselves. Okay, every 10 minutes. So can you imagine 12.5 times, is it one, how much? 1.5 million rupees, right? So somebody asked question, so keep on asking the question, I will answer them, okay, at some point, right? Thank you, Divya. So 1.5, so 12.5 Bitcoins are being printed by somebody on this planet every 10 minutes. We will dive deeper into more. So the miners, these are the heroes of this blockchain. These people are the heroes. Okay. So Divyas, sir, you said the Bitcoin is a decentralized and no one has control of it. It has got the limitation as 20 million coins. So somehow it has a control over it. Good question. But this control, this 21 million, was decided in the beginning, right? In 2008, when Satoshi Nakamoto released his software, he made it clear that according to that's how the software will work. It's a protocol works, and maximum coins it can be printed is 21 million. An important thing you should know that even let's say the Satoshi Nakamoto now uh, comes on board and he become a normal person, and there's no difference between Satoshi Nakamoto, you and me. We are equal. Even Satoshi Nakamoto, he can't change anything now. Okay, and people will like him, but people, if he say let's change something, he can't change it because it's already printed, it's already written on the software, and nobody can able to go and change it. Right, that software that started in 2008, be able to change it. Even Satoshi, the inventor of the blockchain himself, can't change a single bit of it. So that's the beauty of this one, right? There's no difference in terms of authority between him and you and me, right? Everybody is equal, okay? So when he wrote this protocol, the 21 million is same as like, IP address. How many is it? 16 bits, right? Am I right? Okay, IP address has a limited number of bits, right? You can't change it. Now we have IPv6 where we can have more than 32 bits, right? So the IP address is 16 bits, it's fixed, right? Similar to that, 21 million is fixed. Okay, hope it answers your question. Right, so blockchain, right? So the blockchain used for Bitcoin, so you can able to get this Bitcoin software. Okay, and Bitcoin is not only the implementation using blockchain, there are other blockchains. That is Ethereum is another popular blockchain. You can use Ethereum for application like selling and buying diamonds, selling and buying, renting your house, buying a car. If you are going to become an employee for a company, you can sign a contract. Okay, so Ethereum has lots of other beautiful application that we will dive deeper into this one later. And there's another one called Hyperledger, is another type of blockchain, right? It is also open source, is invented by Linux Foundation, right? So there are many open sources. It's free. You can use Ethereum, you can download Ethereum software, and you can actually, if you believe in a different blockchain application in your mind, right, you can actually download this Ethereum software and you can slightly change things and you can build your own blockchain. Okay, so you can provide a new application. Okay, we will see there are hundreds of applications are using this open source to provide new services. That services were initially be centralized, right? A lot of people were controlling, and people thought, okay, why don't we build a decentralized one, right? The people are using Ethereum to build a new Facebook, okay? And Hyperledger is the same thing. They have different flavors, but different applications. And as I said before, a lot of big companies, like you can recognize IBM, Microsoft, Deloitte, you name all the big companies in the world, they have invested a lot of money into build their own blockchain. Okay, so let me repeat that blockchain is an enabling technology, right? That is the enabling technology, and Bitcoin successful application of it. Okay, right. So people are using blockchain for diamonds, right? I worked with a company in London. It's called Everledger. Let me write it down if you can. Maybe I will type it on the chat. So the company name is called Everledger, right? So because diamonds also we have limited supply, and there are some lot of controversy that people go to Africa and use slave labor to get diamonds, right? Okay, people actually mistreat the laborers and get smuggle diamonds into different countries. It's a big problem. Okay, so that's a problem. If let's say we have a rich man in Sri Lanka, and he's a very honest person, and he want to buy a diamond, then actually he want to see the provenance of the diamond. He want to know where this diamond was actually obtained, from Africa or from UK, wherever, and whether all the laborers were paid properly. So he wanted to invest in something that is actually really good. So now he can't able to do it. So but this blockchain, he can able to, one second. So my kids are coming and seeing me what I am doing in my room. So like you, I'm also working from home these days. Right. So there's a blockchain that has all the details of diamonds. All the details of blockchain, diamond, sorry. Okay, so the unique property of diamond is every diamond is unique, right? You can't find two diamonds which are similar. Like your fingerprints, diamonds are unique, right? So you can able to say this diamond has this digital signature, okay, some kind of unique, right? So if somebody going to buy this diamond, they can able to see the history of diamond using this blockchain. They can able to find when this diamond was found, in which country, and who are the people who were using this diamond in the past. Okay. So diamond is one of the application. I quite like it. And these are the other blockchain application, right? These are the blockchain application in sports, right? Limpo. Nowadays, we are using Facebook. You use your Android mobile phone. Those Android mobile phone generating lots of data about you and your activities, right? And that data is being used by Google or Apple, right? And so they collect data from so many people. Like let's say you are an athlete and you are wearing a Fitbit or something on your hand that measures how many steps you walk or your heartbeat, right? These are the data. This data can be collected by all these devices, right? And this data goes to this big company and you don't get anything, right? You paid 50,000 rupees to buy that mobile phone or watch, but you are giving your data about your information free to these companies. And these companies are making money by aggregating data from you and all the people, right? So it is one problem that you are giving, these companies are using your data without paying you any reward. Second problem is privacy. I think they know your location, they know where did you go, they all know about your day-to-day activity. So these companies, what they are doing is Bitcoin, they are building a decentralized blockchain, right? And you can control your data, right? You can control who can access the data and what type of things can be done using your data, and you will get the reward. If we share your location information for last 24 hours, you will be paid like 10 rupees, for example, right? Now you are getting nothing, but this blockchain are trying to empower the end users. You are giving your data and you are getting the reward. At the same time, your privacy is maintained. And these are the few applications. And here we go. So you can see, I can't even read, you can't even read this many applications. Okay, people are building blockchain applications. So let me, for example, how many of you know Dropbox? This one. Okay, the Dropbox is a centralized authority, right? When I was studying in Moratuwa, I had to pay like 3,000 rupees to buy a 2 gigabits size USB stick. Okay, that time USB is very popular. Nowadays, you can even open Dropbox or Google Drive, anything like 50 GB of space for free. Okay, so why somebody is giving you a free space? Because they want your data, right? So the Dropbox is a centralized party. So the people are using, why we need a centralized cloud? Why don't we build a distributed cloud? So people, these are the companies, these are the blockchain version of Dropbox. Can you see that circle? Right, so they are trying to replace all the big cloud platforms like Dropbox, Amazon, Google Drive. And let's look at this one, this circle. Right, currently we have PayPal, Stripe, and credit cards. These are centralized. Okay, PayPal will, if you receive 100 rupees for selling something through PayPal, you know how much PayPal charge you? PayPal will take 30% from that. Let's say you are teaching maths to somebody and they paid 1,000 rupees, but through the PayPal will take 300 rupees from it, and you will get only sorry, 300 rupees. So because of the central, so there are people, they are building a new blockchain platform to replace PayPal. Okay, so I can recognize something here. Can you see here? We are now using Netflix, YouTube, and other video sharing platforms, and these platforms are centralized. Okay, similar to Facebook, these platforms are centralized, and these companies can decide what should be shown to you and what should be, what are the benefits. They will decide. They will change. Today they will have one decision. They will change the decision tomorrow, right? But so it's not very pleasant. So people are actually building. If you go and Google this ATM Cash, or Neta, Stream, these are the blockchain-based decentralized video sharing platform. Like as I said, eBay, Amazon, these are centralized, right? And people are building decentralized blockchain-based platform to do the same service, but without a central authority. And there are hundreds of applications. They are emerging, right? These are Web 3.0. So if you want to shine in future, right? You can see in the Gartner cycle, this is here, okay? And they put that the circle means it will take 10 years time. In 10 years time, these are the things we will see. We won't see Web 2.0. We won't see Facebook. We won't see any of the web things that we see today. Everything will be replaced by Web 3.0. So I suggest you to have a look, keep an eye on this Web 3.0, the blockchain-based applications. Okay. Okay, so there are some few questions since we are running out of time. I think since somebody already asked few questions, I believe you guys are following this properly and somebody found it very useful. So I don't want to spend time asking this question and waiting for you to answer. But so these are the question. If you can, please email me. If you can find the answers, please email me. Okay. I will skip this one. And the conclusion is current trend is making everything decentralized, right? Bitcoin is the first application of blockchain, and blockchain removes the middleman. There are hundreds of applications are emerging that exploits blockchain technology. Okay, so I think we covered this first part, and so maybe I will touch upon the second slides now. Okay, first of all, I like to, if I have inspired some of you, these are the books. These are the really good book, actually. I have these are my. I have 2 books. I quite love these books, actually. But you don't need to buy these books. But follow these YouTube channels. There are 2 YouTube channels I can recommend to you. One is called. This is the best one. This is the best one, and there's another channel. So, right. So why don't you watch these videos on this channel? I highly recommend, and they are quite a trustable place to learn about Bitcoin. But if you can able to find these books, go for it. Okay. And so that's the end of the first session.